Good evening, and I will welcome you all to the May 8th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review continuances, one new continuance, 9 new applications, and 1 administrative review this evening. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth and may need to turn off video, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. The chair will call on commissioners for comments on an application and they'll open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue to approve with a condition, or to reject a second and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. I just want to clarify on those directions. I think that the commissioners received a memo from me, and rather than the way we have been doing it, which is go around and everybody make a comment, we're going to throw it open to all of you to make your comments. I ask you, try not to be repetitive. If you agree with the point that's being made, reinforce that, but keep it short. And if we see early on that this requires a site visit, I'd really like us to make that decision early on, rather than go through a whole meeting, then decide we need a site visit and come back and go through the whole thing again. So what I'm trying to do is make this a more efficient process. We've gone to every 3 weeks. We have a lot on our agenda, even though it's a lot of small items. But I've been here when small items can take two meetings and a site visit. So I'm trying to speed up this process. It may or may not work. The voting member, and I'll just pause for a second. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? No. Okay. If you do, stop me. We'll deal with them. The voting members for this evening are Kate Chartner, Catherine Mast, Tim Whitney, Walter Clay, and myself. We are the voting members. So we are taking up our new public hearings first, as I said, and Scott Wood from 241 Barrett's Mill Road in the Barrett's Farm Historic District is here to ask to install a Generac residential generator. Scott, you're on.
Great, thank you. Can you see and hear me okay?
I can.
All right. Well, thanks, Dennis, and thanks, everyone. So I'm Scott Wood. I live at 241 Barrett's Mill Road. And as Dennis mentioned, I'm seeking input and approval for the installation of a standby generator that would power our home during power outages. I don't know how much background would be helpful. I'll heed Dennis's request and keep it brief, but the basic rationale for why we'd like to place this on our property is that our property abuts the Assabet River and Spencer Brook, which means we have a very high water table under normal conditions, and we have a pretty active basement water mitigation system here, and have had a few close calls with flooding, especially this winter. And really the only solution to kind of safeguard against flooding during a power outage would be one of these standby generators. So I've included, I don't know if everyone can see the materials I submitted, but I did include in that some plot plans, which were from a recent other project, but gives a good sense of where we'd like to place this. It's on the east side of our property, well concealed by a cluster of trees and shrubs. The unit itself is about 2 feet by 4 feet by 2 feet. It's like a beige color. They call it a natural bisque color. And, this would be powered by a buried natural gas line that would connect to our existing gas service. So I think all of the specifications and, photos and plot plans and everything were in the packet I submitted. But if there's anything that would be helpful for me to pull up here, I'm happy to do that. So let me stop there, see if anyone has any, questions or anything else.
Questions from any commissioners?
I have one basic one, which is why on the side and not, say, behind the garage?
Yeah, so we looked at a number of different options. There are some restrictions with these units where they need to be a certain distance away from the home and especially away from windows. So we ran into some, kind of limitations based on that. And then, the other challenge, I mean, if all else equal, I mean, we'd love to put it on the other side of that shed in our backyard, but that and behind the garage and some other locations were just cost prohibitive. It's a really long run for an underground gas line, and would require tearing up patio or driveway or other systems within the property.
I have a question about screening. Could you put up that shot again of your plot plan?
Yeah, did someone else pull that up? I hadn't pulled anything up, but
And I think Ann did.
Okay.
And could you move it up so I can see the front of the house? Yeah, thank you. And I agree with Walter. I prefer it. Do you have a shot at all so we can see straight ahead at where that would be in terms of screening?
Yeah. So from this angle here, it would be in between some of those newer tree plantings there. And this is, a photo from, I think, February or March. So this is certainly the barest the vegetation gets.
Do you see a need? I think particularly I'm looking between these two evergreens. And I know if you beef up that planting, you may find yourself having to cut it out at some point when the evergreens get larger. But is there a chance of putting more screening in there?
Yeah, I have no problem doing that. I mean, we certainly don't want the system visible from the road either. So, I think what I would propose to do is to install the unit, and if it is still visible, which I hope it's not, from what I can tell based on where we'd like to put it, I think it's pretty well concealed. But if it's not, I think we'd probably put in another evergreen of some sort to conceal it further. It may be the case that those grow to a point where we need to remove one of them, but if that's the case, so be it.
All right, it's gonna be a ways down the road.
Yeah.
Other
Just-
questions
just
from commissioners?
One comment. Sorry. Can you hear
Go ahead.
me?
Luis, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think that during the summer it's going to be well concealed, but during the winter it may be very visible. So my suggestion would be that the unit be surrounded by some type of fence or material that camouflages it from the road. And when it's seen from a distance, the actual unit is not seen, but it's seen whatever material is going to surround it. That's all.
So some kind of stockade fence, something along
Yeah,
those
like
lines.
an stockade fence or some this plastic green material that we sometimes put in fences.
Other thoughts along those lines?
I
Luis's
think it's a
comment?
combination of the two, but you can certainly beef up the planting for not a whole lot of effort. And if there is a green or black or brown dark colored low fence that encloses it as belts and suspenders, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Better behind the garage, but not, then that would make sense.
And beige is sticks out quite a. Can you paint this thing green, or does it come in green?
I don't see why not. I mean, it doesn't. They don't have color options as far as I know, but I would need to check with the contractor about. I don't think there's any safety issues with painting it, but I think it's a good idea to explore. You know, if there's something it could be painted that's blends in a bit further. But yeah, I mean, no problem to add some fencing or other concealment with vegetation. So happy to do whatever works.
Yeah, I believe that from the perspective of our commission, it would be easier just to put some type of a covering fence. Trying to paint it, you may run into problems with materials and regulations and things of that sort. So what we're trying to accomplish is that you go home today with an approved with a certification of approval. So to make it as simpler as possible, it's a good strategy.
Are there other questions on the placement of this generator from commissioners? Do we have any public comments? Anybody's hand up? I don't see one. So does anybody want to make a motion?
Well, I have a question, Dennis.
Okay, Kate.
So, if I were to make a motion suggesting approval contingent upon appropriate screening, how does the applicant cover appropriate screening without having to come back?
That could be done administratively. I think that we'll get the staff to approve based on our comments. If that satisfies the commissioners. If not, then they would have to come back with a screening plan.
Okay. Well,
Any
then,
thoughts on that? You could put that in your motion that the staff could approve the screening plan.
why don't I give that a shot? And if somebody doesn't like the motion, they can try a different one.
Just include make it disappear.
You make it disappear. Okay, that's general enough.
That might be, I wouldn't want anyone to try to take that literally. I move that we approve the application to install a generator at 241 Barrett's Mill Road, contingent upon the applicant providing documentation, plans of sufficient screening administratively. For administrative approval.
Do I have a second to that motion?
Second the motion.
Catherine seconded it.
Yes.
Thank you. So let's go around and take a vote. Tim?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
Let me see. Kate?
Aye.
And an aye. Good. You're good to go. Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thanks so much, and I'll follow up with
Follow up with Ann Clifford.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Great.
Take care.
Okay, our next new public hearing is the Town of Concord, 7A Monument Square and the American Mile Historic District to install matching existing signage at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery.
Hi, Tish Hopkins for Concord Public Works. So we're requesting that we be able to put a sign in Old Hill Burying Ground, stating some of our regulations on it, something that we've considered for many years and thought would be important to have in place before the crowds that are expected for next year's celebration on April 19th.
And you're gonna show us what this looks like?
I think that Anne can. Yes, she can. So these are signs that match existing signage that's in place at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, at all of our entry gates. We did modify it. This is a little smaller than the one that's at Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow signs have a few more different rules and regulations on them. So they're a little smaller, and Anne had asked too if if it does come up, she had asked me for the paint chip numbers for the green. I can't get those because this is a mixture of paint that was done. Billy Crosby said it's a mixture of Benjamin Moore, Essex green, and Crane green. And suggested a Rookwood shutter green that was used at the West Concord Depot. We are not tied to any special green, so if it's something that you wanted to see differently as far as the color goes, we're totally open to that. We just matched what was done at Sleepy Hollow.
And did you have other comments on these signs? I'm trying to remember from your notes.
Sorry. My only other comment was that, you know, the two greens, maybe you could simplify it and just have one shade of green and it be the sort of darker green that you would expect in historic areas, you know, often on shutters.
The Rookwood shutter green.
Yes, or Essex green. But something very dark, I would suggest.
Yeah, we're fine with either.
I would suggest that the green that's there now is, if you're taking out the light green, the dark green would be fine. I think anyway, but I don't know what the Rookwood shutter green looks like, so I can't really tell. Comments from commissioners?
Yeah, Essex green is a good, very dark one, and there's an advantage to using a stock color, I would think, rather than trying to mix again. And we're in a situation right now of looking at, oh, we can't find that green exactly because it's a blend. If you just standardize on Essex, then repair maintenance is much easier.
But that's not really the case because you can recreate any color that you want, and the usual software will provide
Yeah, of course.
the color that you need, so it can be recreated exactly.
My thinking is if they already have that green and it's dark, that we ought to leave it at that green, but again, that's my opinion. Is there any comments from the public? Great. Does someone want to make a motion?
I have just one other question. I know that we are not in the business of talking about content, but if it's, I see that, please clean up after your animals. Is there a way to make that more emphatic? I don't need an answer, an observation, but that shouldn't be elective.
Well, that's too polite, Walter. Is that
in this for this particular subject? Yes, I think that's too polite. So,
do you have a suggestion for wording?
No.
Okay, thanks.
I might agree, but we're supposed to be polite. Yes.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Well, first, I would like to just make a comment about the color. As long as it's consistent throughout the community, I think that's what's important. And I think the wording says it all to any pet owner.
Thank you very much. Are there other comments from the community? I didn't think I saw any hands up. So can I again ask for a motion?
Well, I have no beef with the color, so here's my motion. I move that we approve the application of 7A Monument Square to install signage as proposed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Good. Okay, let me go around. Kate, you're on again.
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I am an aye. So you're all set. Thank you.
Okay, so just for clarification, with the as proposed is with the two different greens, so that's okay?
That's as proposed.
Okay, perfect.
Great. The next public hearing again is the town of Concord
Me again?
Historic District to install 2 signs with wooden posts to match existing signage at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. Tisha, you on again?
I am on again. So this is a sign, the one that we just spoke about was going to Old Hill Burying Ground. This one would be placed at the entrance to the South or Main Street Burying Ground, down on Main Street across from Middlesex Bank. Same exact sign.
Okay, any thoughts from the commissioners on this sign? Once we just approved the other sign.
I certainly have no problem with it.
I think the chair should ask for a motion.
I think so too. Walter, you want to make it?
I move that we approve the application for 8B Main Street to install 2 signs with wooden posts to match existing signage at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery as submitted.
Great. Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Catherine. Let me see. Let me go around again. Kate,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you very much. Are we seeing you again?
One more time.
One more time. I thought
Yes.
you
I move that we approve the application.
This one's different.
Okay. Okay, Town of Concord, 12 Main Street Historic District to install ground lighting to properly illuminate the American flag.
Yes, so this is at the War Memorial that's across from Helen's Restaurant. The War Memorial was redesigned in 1998. And at that time, there was a small in-ground light placed in front of the central memorial that just pointed up. The committee at the time wasn't allowed to put any kind of a stand light that would illuminate the ground because it was a tripping hazard. At that time, there were plantings behind the memorial that wouldn't have allowed for a light to be placed there. The Rotary of Concord actually maintained this site for a long time on their own. Recently gave it to the town, handed it over and said it wasn't something that they wanted to do anymore, so they kind of gave it to us. At that time, it was a select board member that asked for us to get a light on the flag somehow. So working with the light department staff, asked them to find a way to get a light on the flag because it should be properly illuminated at night. And they can do underground lighting. If you see the little red circle that's on the right side of the, yep, right there, that's where a small post light would go. It wouldn't stick up that high over the wall, but it would stick up in a plant bed behind the wall. So not a tripping hazard and shouldn't even be really visible. Yeah, it'd be behind that wall there. They could do an underground line from a utility pole that's kind of behind it in the parks. Yeah, that's the line that shows where the utility pole is. They could do an underground utility line to get power to the light. So it wouldn't be additional above ground wires or anything. And he suggested using, I think it was a 46, no, it was a 42 watt, 3000 Kelvin light, which is within the range, acceptable range. I think, yeah, for soft illumination or warm temperature illumination. It's going to be pointed up at the American flag, so it shouldn't interfere with traffic in any way. Or a visitor's experience there. Wouldn't blind anybody walking up to the light.
Usually we ask for a cut sheet for the fixture. Do you have an example of the fixture?
I think it is there, I believe.
Okay, we have a number of lighting gurus among the commissioners. Can I have some comments on this flag lighting?
Well, I've got a few questions. There's an existing light that's not working now in the ground, is that correct?
Correct.
And is the only light out there is that light that's not working?
Correct.
So that one would just be abandoned in this?
My initial request was for the light department to try to fix it. And they said that they don't even know how it ever worked to begin with. Yeah, that light needs to be abandoned regardless. It doesn't work and they don't know how to make it work.
So my two comments are there's plenty of in-ground lights that work, so I'm not sure why it doesn't work. And having a light coming in at an angle where people could be circulating and having that thing hit them in the face because it's coming from kind of behind a seat wall just doesn't sound very subtle to me and very good for the experience of the people in that space. And we're also had just gone through the discussion about churches lighting facades and trying to really stay away from uplighting. I could see a small uplight in ground if they could somehow, you could somehow fix that, because they do work. I don't know why that one particular one doesn't, but those are my two comments.
I don't know why they can't get it to work. And I think part of the problem is it's in the hardscape. So a lot of brick and stonework would have to be removed to get to it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
This wouldn't entail any of that.
It
But you
wouldn't-
could,
but-
good, Kate.
I'm with Tim in that, I mean, my reaction in reviewing it was, why not an uplight? And I understand you'd have to fiddle around with the hardscape, but it's the preferable angle. I mean, I think what's proposed might be somewhat easier, but it's also somewhat worse.
Where is it powered from currently, the one that doesn't work?
They didn't know. It has no power and they weren't, I think because they would have to remove a bunch of bricks just to even figure it out. They were kind of hesitant to do that.
Well, they may have to do that anyway. I mean, I agree on the uplight. I mean, it's not all that attractive possibly, but you could snake, and I've done that myself here, a piece of wire over the wall, take up a few bricks and put an uplight in it, and then paint it to match the wall. I did that in my dining room with a beam, and it looks perfectly fine. You might have to take up a few bricks, but I think the uplight is preferable, because if you have the light you currently want, it's still going to shine out. I think from what I see, so it's going to cover more of the territory than just lighting the flag.
I don't know. I wanted to try one, but that's kind of difficult, I guess. So we just went on the recommendation of the electrician.
Wow.
He's coming up with an easy solution, but I'm not sure it's the best solution.
We did consider something solar. We wanted to try to attach to the pole, but that area just doesn't get enough sun for it to be effective.
Yeah. Other comments? Luis, is that your hand up?
No, I'm just hovering. But I agree with what has been said. I don't think that this is the best solution, and the electrician has to work a little harder to make the thing work as it stands. That's all.
I mean,
So,
I think this area is worth, trying to pull up a few bricks to get it right.
Okay.
so other comments? Are there any comments from the public? May I sum this up by saying you need to give it another, come back to us? Is that the best way to sum it up?
Can do.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I
Or
move,
continuance, rather. Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Kate.
let's say I move that we continue the application for 12 Main Street, parcel 1693, till the next meeting or whenever the applicant can get information regarding installation of an uplight.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Tim. Let me get a vote on that. Kate?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we'll see you again at the next meeting or when you're ready.
Probably not the next meeting, but we will be back. Yes. Okay. All
Okay, thank you.
right. Thanks. You guys have a good night.
And
Thanks.
you. Okay, our next application is from Alexandra Hewer and Dan Candy, 42 Monument Street, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to replace a kitchen window and install an iron handrail. The applicant here?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear you.
good. Good. So, yeah, so our hope is to replace an existing back door railing, handrail, and to replace an existing square window next to that, which is actually a kitchen window. And maybe it might be helpful to first, if we went to attachment A in what I submitted, just to get a sense of the location of these things. Okay, so the photograph's taken from somebody standing on Monument Street, looking back down our driveway. And so the front of the house was built in apparently 1810. The back lower two-story is an extension put on, we don't know when, but there are certain things going on in it that sort of suggests perhaps somewhere between 1955 and 1970. I don't know, maybe earlier than that. Anyway, not 1810. And so, yeah, so these two things go on way in the back here. So then if we could go to a photograph, I submitted it, I think I called attachment C. Oh, yes, thank you. There we are. So, so the railing that's there, the railings that are there, they're bolted into the clapboarding. They're bent at this point. I don't know if that shows particularly well, but they are bent. And my hope is to just renew with just one handrail on the left side of in that photograph. Same height, same position. Yes, and thank you for that. That's a drawing of what I would like. We don't need the handrail on the other side, and it's sometimes helpful to have a little more wiggle space if you're getting large bits of furniture or whatnot into the house. So one handrail would do us fine for safety reasons. And right, so actually, if we could go back to attachment C just for a second. Right, so the window is actually that window there, our kitchen window, and it's a sash window, and it's which I don't need. We don't need to be able to open that window. We've got plenty of ventilation in other ways. It's got a sort of aluminium storm window affair on the outside, which I also don't need. So what I'm hoping for, and perhaps we could now go to attachment V, is to replace it with just a square window that doesn't open, no sashes. That would be more in keeping with the 1810 federal flavor of the oldest part of the house. And there are all of these drawings here, not because I want you to pick one for me, but just to indicate if there are any there that you think really would not be acceptable for design reasons. It's going to have to be a sort of custom-made window, I'm sure. It's not going to be anything that's sort of exists already. We're just going to have to get J and B door and sash to make one. So, it's been suggested to me that actually since it's a sort of utility part of the house in the back, simpler is better and obviously cheaper to hand make. So my question is, so the simpler designs are obviously 1, 2, and 3. Are there any there that you would rule out? And would you prefer number 1? Is my question.
So you've shown us the railing that you want on one side, and then you're showing us some window options. The view you just showed is not the view we'd see from the street. Is that correct? That front on view? Could you go back to the view we'd have from the
Yes,
street?
no, right, that's correct, yes. So this is right, so we're talking about just these features way in the back of our driveway here. Can you see I've indicated kitchen window with a vertical label?
And the railing in this picture is behind the bush, correct?
Behind the bush, right.
Okay, thank you. Comments from the commissioners?
I'm familiar with this house, and it's a lovely house, and it's true, it's very hard to see from Monument Street, the items in question. But all the same, Ms. Hewer, for the iron rail, are you just putting it up for code? Because I'm curious as to why the top of it isn't flat if it's a handrail. Or are you?
Right, well,
Just
two
for your own-
reasons. Right, 2 reasons is in the winter when you need the handrail perhaps most for balance when you sort of come out of the house and into the snow. If it's covered in ice, it's not so helpful because you slide on a flat handrail.
Oh.
It's better to be able to grab hold of a spike. And also in terms of, I may be getting a little bit obsessive here. A flat the reason why they put spikes on handrails is to deter birds from pooping on the handrail. So if you've also for sort of sanitary reasons, if you get a cleaner handrail, freer of bird poop if you've got spikes on it.
Well, may I mention to Walter that this would address your point about cleaning up after animals. You wouldn't have to.
The point is taken.
So that's why I went for spikes, and but as you see with a pinecone newel post on the corner, which is also different from what exists currently.
That was it. I mean, I don't know if we're commenting on window styles, Dennis.
Sure, do the whole thing.
Okay, sure. I should think for that house, number 1 would be most appropriate, because that would be kind of more classic American residential federal. The others, a number of the others are more ecclesiastical English federal style. Not that the English had federal, but later Georgian.
Yeah.
We're not really in the business of picking design options, right? But besides that, I would second Kate's comment, and I think the owners, the simple is better here.
Okay.
And if that happens to be number 1, so be it. I have never seen a handrail with spikes on the top. I've seen fences, so I defer to the owners' ideas about cleanliness and gripability. It makes me nervous. This is purely a safety question. So this is. I think the little pineapple motifs are quite cute, and I like the design of the little fence, but it's strikes me as more of a fence than a handrail. That's really, I don't have any personally have any visual concerns. I think it's a little nice looking little piece of fence, but that's a safety question beyond our purview, I guess.
Yeah. You don't come out and find impaled birds on your handrail?
No, I think they learn pretty quickly. But I have arthritis, so I've been recently really sort of thinking about you know, what you need to safely haul yourself up and down stairs and things. And I'd much rather be able to grab something that's sticking up than just go for the handrail.
That's why it's a personal
you know,
preference.
I can see the logic in that.
Yeah.
Other comments?
Yeah, I'm a number one window as well. The reference is the more modern addition on the back, not the front part of the house. And if anything, we want to be differentiating the temporal differences.
Yeah. Any other comments? No, I agree with all that. I think the handrail is fine, and I think the number one window. So does any comments from the public? With no comments from the public, I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we approve 42 Monument Street to replace the kitchen window and install an iron handrail with the preference for the option 1 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Kate seconded it. Okay, let's do some voting. Kate?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
I do have one just a quick question to the owners. Is number one acceptable?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, I'm an aye.
Yeah.
And I'm an aye also. Thank you very much. You have your window and handrail.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next applicant, David Garrod or Garrod, 166 Monument Street, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to replace windows and add new windows, replace 2 front doors, repaint house, and add stone veneer, cupola, metal seamed roof over bay windows, railing, corner boards, and other trim.
Yes.
Hello,
Good
David.
evening. Yes. So that's a summation of the actual work that's to be done. But the reason we're doing it is, let me just bring up. Basically, you know, our house is built in 1977. It's never really had any real exterior work done to it, and therefore it's begins to look dated. So we're attempting to make the front elevation of the house look more historically authentic by putting a cupola on the center roof and adding first floor Boston blend round stone veneer with round stone veneer from Littleton Stoneyard. That's been used in several historic renovations and is identical to the round veneer used by a house around the corner from us on Bow Street that was renovated a couple of years ago. So there's a number of pictures that's been submitted in that. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
I guess we'd like to see the pictures.
This is Mrs. Garrett. I'm across the table. And our primary goal, we have very low expectations. This house was built in 1977, as my husband said, and it's never had any exterior work, and the paint has literally peeled off the house. So the primary goal is to get the house a badly needed updated paint job. But in order to do that, all of the corner boards, fascia boards, and trim boards are rotten because we have so many large trees on the property. All the wood is literally has holes in it, is unpaintable. So that's why you see the work items for replacing corner boards and trim, because the current corner boards and trim are unpaintable. So that's our primary goal, is to get the house a badly needed paint job. When we do that, we noticed that the 1977 windows in the 2 front doors have warped so much that they no longer seal. And we've got water coming in our dining room window. So it would be nice if we could throw in a couple of first floor windows so they will seal and not have water pouring in the dining room. And 2 front doors that will seal. They're currently kind of open to the open air. They don't shut right. And finally, after we add the new trim and can get the house painted, as David said, instead of it looking like a 1977 house, which it does, we thought we'd put a cupola in the center roof, which is often done between 2 peaks, and add the first floor stone with some diamond shaped windows by the front doors and try to make it look much more authentic. And again, those are our goals, and we have anything will be better than what we currently have. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anne has all the pictures, so I'll assume Anne will put up the necessary pictures.
Okay, thank you.
This is the view from from Bartlett Hill Road, from more or less the corner of Monument Street, of the house as it looks at the moment. That's the sort of the front of the house. This is the view from Monument Street, looking towards the house. This is the view from Martin Road. There's a big wall there, looking towards the house. And here's what we like it to look like. At the front, there's the front elevation. The bottom is how it looks today. The top is our proposal. We're only replacing first floor windows. We're not touching the second floor.
And only some of the first floor.
Yeah, not quite all of the first floor.
Only the ones that don't work.
Yeah. We're also trying to match a little. We had a kitchen extension. We made a porch into a kitchen extension, and you approved that a couple of years ago. And there's actually a picture of that, and we're going to sort of match the trim somewhat to that.
Great. Do I have anybody want to comment on this application?
I have a few questions. The first is about the roof. Because you're looking at a metal seamed roof as part of the application?
Yes, the metal seam roof is purely, if you look at those bay windows, that front dining room window, there's a tiny little roof over it today. It's a felt roof at the moment, asphalt, tiny little roof. And we want to put a metal seam roof, very, very similar, actually identical to the one you approved to go over our fireplace bump out at the back. And there's a picture of that, the best I could do, showing that metal seam roof that's on the fireplace bump out.
We put that in last summer.
That was
For the kitchen extension.
So we plan to, match exactly what you approved for that.
So there's not 3 different kind of roofs over the bay windows.
It's that's it. That's the best I could see. That little
that's fine. It's hard to figure out what the actual existing roof is from the drawings.
Yeah, well, that's the roof that was put in over the bump out.
The existing roof is the same asphalt tiles that are on our main roof.
Yes,
Same
Sure.
stuff.
yeah. So it's just change those asphalt things to, there's a tiny little bit of asphalt roof there. That's it. It's pointing at there. We're not touching the real roof at all.
No, we're not
Yeah.
re-roofing the house
Yeah.
at all.
I understand. So
And
is
there's a similar window at the back that sticks out, which would have the metal roof as well.
and
there's
the
that.
cupola purely decorative? Oh, well, and if you stop right there, my confusion about roofing is from looking at this existing, because that looks for all the world to me to be a standing seam metal roof.
No, that's it's an asphalt roof. It's a
Yes, very good.
It's the same asphalt tiles as are on the roof.
yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the cupola purely decorative then?
Yes,
No,
and yes, there's a picture of it that was submitted with the application.
Yeah, there's a full picture of the exact cupola.
It's a hexagonal windowed cupola
Yeah.
with a bell-shaped top.
Right.
You should have that picture somewhere.
Yes, I did see it. My concern as I continue here is that I heard both the desire to have this be more historic as well as much more authentic, and yet to me the cupola is not is neither in the context of the house from 1979, as you say. So I'm perplexed by that, I guess.
I think, given the architect's front elevation, the cupola adds a lot to the look of the house. So if the authenticity argument doesn't fly, we can just abandon that, and we'll just ask you, can we put a cupola on the house?
Yeah, it's similar to other cupolas in town, isn't it,
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
Where's the other ones that look like that one?
I don't know, there's cupolas all over the town.
Yeah,
Cupolas all over the town and houses of that age
which age?
and style. Well, would you say the house was 57 or something?
No, it's 77. No,
77?
Sorry, what we meant by that, no, we're not trying to make it look like a 1977 house. We'd like to sort of make it fit more in with other houses in the district.
I think the simple request is we'd like to put a cupola on the roof. So if you don't want to approve it, we just need to know that, but we do think it will look nice to put a cupola in the center roof.
Yeah.
To me, this is a very simple house in the mode of I guess of a modified Cape, which always had simple lines and simple windows. I myself do not think the stone cladding, the cupola, and the diamond windows are appropriate with a house of this period and style. And I'm not sure that they're appropriate in Concord. I don't know of other stone-faced houses in the historic district.
Around the corner from us on Bow Street, and the house on the corner of 62, just up from the Holy Family Church, has first floor stone. And the one around the corner from us that was renovated 2 years ago on Bow Street has significant first floor stone. Matter of fact, the same stone we were gonna use.
That's in this historic district,
Yeah.
isn't it? And
Around the corner.
that came to you for approval, I believe.
Okay, I have to see those. They're not coming to mind at this point. Any other comments?
I have my hand raised.
Luis, go.
Yes.
The comment that I want to make is that you have a 1977 house, and that house is nondescript. And the attempt that you are making of trying to make this house some kind of historic, because you're going to put a cupola, and then you're going to make some elements in the outside of the house, I think that are extremely misguided, in the sense that you can make a 1977 house a very beautiful house and a very good house. And you don't have to sort of try to hark back to some non-existent historic elements, because anybody who knows just a little bit about architectural history will know that this is just a false appearance. It's a facade. It's nothing that has any relevance from the standpoint of the historic relevance of the place or the historic role of the house. So to concentrate specifically in some of the design elements, I think that the stone wall, which is going to be some kind of artificial material, trying to make it look like houses that were actually built from stone, that is not a design element that adds anything. You know, on the other hand, it subtracts value from the house from the standpoint of architectural consistency. Then, of course, the cupola. The cupola, from an architectural standpoint, and I apologize to the people in this group that are actual architects. It's a non-functional element. To see, most architects will balk and will refuse to engage in such an object. Then you have another thing that's very interesting, which is that you have a diagonal garage, which is a hallmark of houses built in the 80s. And I think that the whole treatment that is being given to the house to try to make it, quote unquote, more historic is entirely misguided. You see, that's my very personal opinion.
Can I just interrupt you a minute?
Yeah, let me finish out, because I will not make any further comments after these.
Yes.
I think that from the standpoint of the design, you can make this house to be absolutely beautiful as a house that nobody will know whether it was built in 1977 to 1985 or 2023. But it would be a good architectural object. And that architectural object at this point is not being given any credit by the design that's being proposed. And the final thing that I was going to say is that it's very misguided to make an argument that I am doing this because something that's around the corner has it. Every time that the Historic District Commission looks at a project, it looks at the project in context. In other words, I should be able to look at the house and say, this house has its value for itself, not because this house is similar or different from the other one. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Well, so can I just make one comment there? I probably misspoke when I used the term historic. We just actually want to make the house look better than it looks at the moment. And we feel that the way it looks at the moment is not so great. And we thought that, and we worked with an architect, and
That's the design.
and that's the design he came up with. That's what he's advised us to use.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, the house needs exterior work badly. None of the previous owners have touched a thing. And when we worked with this architect from Concord, Greg Legault, who came up with this design with us, we felt that this was, the cupola added a lot to the house, and the stone added a lot. And there's diamond-shaped windows on several houses. And we're hoping that we should be allowed to do this for the opposite argument, because we're not a historic house. And we'd like to improve the look of the house.
That's the bottom line. We just want to improve the look of the house.
Misspoke and went down that rat hole that we were trying to make it authentic.
Yeah, no.
Not the goal here.
So we leave it up to you. What are you telling us we can do or not do?
Yeah, the house
That's the
needs
bottom line.
work badly.
Yeah, we got to paint it anyway.
We're trying to improve its appearance.
Yeah.
That was the
That's
rendering that the architect came up
Okay,
with.
wait, we said that.
Yeah.
Can I ask for other comments from any of the commissioners? Walter?
I would say if you're concerned, and this is maybe softening good news in some sense, I have Littleton stone veneer on a building in my house. And we went to great pains to make sure that it had water channels, essentially, a way to keep moisture from building up and all behind it. My real fear is that if you have, if your concerns about your house are that you have paint that's peeling, it's in bad condition, you have trim boards that have rotted because I believe you said you had trees around.
Yes.
Huge trees.
That we went to great lengths to make sure that we had proper drainage in the walls and all behind the stone veneer. And our architect who is doing that wouldn't let us just put something on there. If you were to just veneer the existing walls without doing a rather extensive rebuild, I think you're asking for great trouble, as evidenced by what you already have.
But we're not planning to put the stone over the top of the clapboards. The clapboards will be.
No, I understand that completely. We have quite a few layers of, not without sharing the design for you. It's much more difficult to make sure that it doesn't just rot the wall. And
yeah, obviously we're hiring somebody that knows what the stone yard people that know what they're doing.
Well, it's not a function of the stone. The stone yard is cutting it.
No, I mean the people that the stone mason.
Littleton personally recommended one of their best stonemasons to us for that reason, and said it would be done properly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other comments?
It's Kate. I would not be inclined to recommend for this house in the district, the stone veneer or the cupola or the diamond paned windows. Do you need me to say why?
No. I mean, you can if you want to, we don't have to.
Well, because the cupola is non-functional. We don't normally recommend just decorative items, particularly ones that are not in keeping. I know the house is 1977, but its lines are, its double gable roof facade are kind of colonial / classical revival, depending on where you want to slice it. It wouldn't have had a house that wouldn't have been part of its vocabulary. Ditto for stone veneer. Ditto for diamond paned roofs.
Diamond paned what?
Oh, sorry, diamond
Windows.
So what you're saying is we're not going to be allowed to remodel the house at all, just paint it?
Well, you want to add, I think, different panel. You want to change your roof on your bays. And I believe you want to change the construction of the bay fascia.
No, we're not building anything.
Well, don't you want to replace the
Placing rotten boards so they can be painted. They're too rotten to be painted.
Right, but you're replacing the material.
Which you're talking about? Are you talking about the corner?
In the fascia boards.
The corner posts. The fascia, any fascia board stuff, that's just repair. But you're talking about the actual vertical things.
Aren't you changing the materials from wood to AZEK?
Anytime we have to replace the the corner boards and that, we would use the AZEK rather than wood. All of our builders have told us that do not put wood up. You really, and that was what we put up. Exactly what we did for our kitchen extension. That was all AZEK, which was approved by you.
And I'm not disputing that. So your wife asked if we're not going to allow any remodeling, and I'm saying no, that's not it. But there's certain aspects of it that at least wouldn't pass my recommendations for the district.
So here's the thing we need to know.
What can we do?
This house is in very, very bad condition. We'd like to remodel it according to the architect's drawing. And the house around the corner from us on Bow Street has extensive first floor stone. The house near Holy Family Church has all first floor stone on the front. We'd like to do the same and add a cupola. But you're telling us you're not going to allow us to remodel our house in any way. We can just paint it, correct?
No,
Tim, you had some comments?
Yeah, so
if I can say something.
Well, let Tim,
Yeah, let
Tim
Tim go
first and
ahead.
then Luis.
We just want to be sure that the owners know that we have objections to 3 specific items: the stone, the cupola, and the diamond windows as being sort of applied old historic, and I can't say it any better than Luis did. In terms of modifying the house, excuse me, please, I'd like to finish.
Yes, please let him finish.
In terms of modifying the house or the placement of trim, which you've done, or the color, or any other details you'd like to think about and propose that we're not designers here. We have no objection to that. I think your house color is moving in the right direction. You're working on trim, which gives it more texture and quality, more trim. I think those are very appropriate moves. It's really if you would reconsider the stone in some other material or some other color, a different color clapboard, it could be a white clapboard versus the dark. Again, we're not trying to give you design solutions here, but we're not trying to restrict your renovations. We're just pointing out 3 things that are really standing out to us that we don't think are appropriate for your house.
Could you just clarify that white versus?
Well, in other words, you could take that stone area and turn and address it just as a different color in the house, or it could be a stucco or something other than the glued on stone look in a house. You have quite I think it's quite a nice form of a house, and it's got a lot of potential. And you're addressing what needs to be addressed. You've got to fix water problems, and you want to upgrade the look of the house, and we're totally supportive of that. We're just giving the 3 particulars that really stand out to us that we don't think are going to help the house and are not going to be approved by us. But I suggest go back to your architect and say, continue to work to give this house a fresh new look, but without applying quote unquote historic elements to solve the problem, because there are other solutions out there. Luis, you had a comment.
Yeah, Luis had a comment.
I have nothing to add. I think that Tim said everything I wanted to say. We actually encourage the house to be much better, but there are 3 design elements that are not consistent with the character of the historic district. So we're referring to those, but the applicant is absolutely free to come up with a different design. And we are looking forward to the house being renovated. Thank you.
I think what I'm hearing here at this point, if I may sum this up, if you want to get this approved tonight, you need to take out the diamond pane windows, the cupola, and the stone front. And I think you have a good chance of having an approval. If you don't want to go that direction and you want to go back to your architect and come back to us, we'd be glad to see you. And I think we might get a motion to continue this. Do we have any comments from the public? No. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Let me just so basically it could be approved if we were to remove the stone, the cupola, and the diamond windows, and everything else that is specified could be done. Is that correct?
Excuse me. Did the other commissioners review the door style?
Say we need to go over all the points that are part of the application before just blanket saying yes to that.
Good. I hadn't heard other elements. So someone want to mention other elements?
Well, we just haven't seen them in the presentation.
Can we see that again?
saying they don't like the doors.
No, no, they haven't said
No, they're gonna say that. I could tell by.
that.
I think, so there, just I'm pointing out to other commissioners here, there are larger corner boards. There's horizontal fascia you can see on the gables. I personally, I mean, we could debate the intricacies of those, but I think those are improvements to the house. They're just subtle additions that look perfectly appropriate to me. The house is very pared down right now in terms of trim. It's kind of like the minimal trim to build a house. So I personally don't have I think all the white trim, it is fine in my opinion. And I even think the arch doors, you could debate that one way or the other, but they're nice wood doors that they're specifying. Nice wood painted doors. They're not, if I understand it, yeah, this is a very high quality door. So
They're good doors.
So I looked at the details pretty carefully this afternoon, and it really came down to those three things that, as we've mentioned. Is it just a quick question for the owner? Is the garage door being changed, or is that just, I can't tell? Is
No,
it
the
just,
garage door stays the same.
okay, thank you.
And I would say if you want to invest what would be the cost of doing the stone veneer, you could certainly upgrade the garage door to be reflective of those Nantucket doors. You'd have consistency across the front, and that would go a long way to having an impact on the overall presentation.
Yeah, we're happy with the garage door the way it
Okay,
is.
fine. I'm just offering it. Very good.
It was the center of the house that we wanted to do something different with. And it's sounding like,
Because of the design of the home with the two large peaks on either side, and then the low center first floor of the house, we were trying to accentuate what is the visual center of a very visible house when you drive down Monument Street. Could we just put the stone on the center wall? No cupola?
No.
I think as we said, we would.
What I'm having trouble understanding is the house right around the corner from us 2 years ago was approved to put the very same stone on. It's all over the front of their house. Why are you preventing us from doing it?
I'm not.
Why is it okay around?
I don't know that house.
I don't know that house, and I don't remember that we approved stone in that house.
You did, because our architect did that house, and he told us you approved that as well.
Well, let's back up here and say that each application's on its own bottom, and we are saying in this case that we don't want the stone, the diamond pane windows, and the cupola on this particular house.
I think we should have it continued, don't you, Teresa?
I think we should continue.
Yes.
This is a mess. I feel like.
No, I think no, this is fine. They've made some very good points. I really think we should continue this. We're going to go reconsult with our architect.
Yes, it is.
Hello?
I'm going to go reconsult with our architect and then come back to you if you're willing to just continue this for the moment.
Absolutely.
And by the way, sorry.
I think I would just like to summarize a few points as well. Specifically that I think where we are is a bit of a crossroads between respecting and understanding the homeowner's desire to embellish and improve the look of the house, but also understanding that we are trying to uphold the character of homes within the district in Concord. And I think, as I see it, I'm a professional interior designer. What's happening here in terms of what your architect has put together in the effort to improve and embellish the look of the house is really an amalgamation of styles and different historic periods that are kind of, frankly, all over the map and through different periods of time. I mean, the diamond window panes, for example, are, you know, a Tudor 1600s sort of element. You know, and then we have seamed metal roof, and then we have stone veneer. So, you know, I think what we are all responding to, I guess, is that I think there's a bit of a disjointed approach to the design for the improvements for your home. So I think we all understand and appreciate what you're trying to do and accomplish here, but are having trouble with these disjointed elements that, you know, aren't really authentic or historic in any way to, you know, one particular period or not, historically speaking. And I think that's a bit of what's problematic here. And I think there are, as my fellow commissioners have said, definitely ways where you can achieve your goals and, you know, improve the appearance a great deal and the feeling of both solidity and, again, just finer, more quality details with the corner boards, et cetera, without these disparate elements that are kind of plucked from different periods of time and you know, are, as Kate pointed out, sort of different you know, architectural vernacular, if you will. So you know, I think we're just trying to sort of help frame the approach in a bit more concise, maybe simple way.
Thank you, Catherine. Does someone want to make a motion?
So I actually just wanted to say, what I was trying to ask was, do you know what the house number is on Bow Street? That's the reference?
I'll be right.
My wife's going to go look and find out. And
That would certainly be a help for us to know
Sure.
what you're referencing. So, okay.
Well, when we come back, we will certainly have that information.
Sure. And if we know the number, I'm sure that
Yes.
all of us will take a look as well.
Yes. And Teresa will get the number, and if you want to move on to the next application or something, I can take.
In the meantime,
Oh, she's got it. Oh, do you have it, Teresa?
Hold on.
So, in the meantime.
Well, it's not going to change the motion.
No, I understand that.
In the
Kate,
meantime,
move ahead.
Tell them to put one in.
No, we need the number, Teresa. We will come back to them with
I
that.
can't read the
No,
mailbox.
we will come back to them with that.
David,
Okay.
thank you. If you come back with the number.
Yes,
Kate,
we'll
you want to
come
make a
back.
motion?
yes, please. I move that we continue the application for 166 Monument Street.
Do I have a second? Tim seconded.
Second.
Okay. Kate?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
And Walter?
Aye.
And I'm an aye also. So are we going to continue it to the next meeting, or do you think you'll need a bit more time?
No, we certainly won't need any more time. We will be back. We will come back with all of the information, more information, and we'll talk to the architect. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, let me move on to the next hearing, which is Persistent Perseverance LLC, the Colonial Inn, 48 Monument Square, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to install a concrete deck, install planters, and modify brick patios and walkways.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you. Before your presentation, and I just wanted you to clarify where we stand or how we're handling the brick patios that never were approved.
Well, we're going to seek approval of that this evening. We're going to explain what we did. So I'm going to present that in two pieces, project that we want to do and project what we've already done.
Right.
Is that okay, or?
Ann, is that okay? Or do we need to have the patios approved before we modify them?
Right, I'm not sure about the procedural answer to that. But there are drawings that show the sort of pre-COVID conditions, prior to 2020. I know that there were some changes that were made during COVID to allow more outdoor seating. There were brick terraces added. So this new application would be to make minor modifications to, the brick patios that are there that have yet to be approved, but then also add the cement patio.
So am I gathering from those comments that we should move ahead with this application as it is and not be concerned about the patios that exist? Probably not the correct wording. Of course, they're concerned about them.
Can I interject something there?
If I may suggest, make a suggestion.
Luis, why don't you suggest something?
Yeah, as far as we're concerned, the current construction, what it's built there has never happened. It's something that was put there without any authorization or any control from our commission. So my interpretation would be that we're looking at a new application and that the applicant should justify all the design elements on their own terms, not on the reference of whatever it's already there. And that we should consider this application as a fresh new design and imagine that what it's there, it's a complete blank slate.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just would say to the applicant, and please, or make sure the applicant knows that this is not a good thing to do, to just go ahead and modify in the historic district without permission. That we sort of frown on that. Given that, would you move ahead with your presentation?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Michael Glick. I'm representing the Concord Colonial Inn. Also here tonight is Charles Orlando, our architect. Off camera is Allison Harrington and Manoj Kumar, our general manager. We apologize that we did take those steps to put the brick patios in place back in 2021. Nothing is being changed with those. As they sit today is how we would like to keep them. And so we're not looking to alter those. We're looking to just alter the concrete deck. So I'll start with the deck if I could. What we're looking to do is to install a 300 square foot concrete deck on the east side of the inn. The deck would be in front of what used to be called the salon, or was a salon. The new concrete deck will in no fashion be in front of the historic section of the building. It does not go in front of that. It will be only in front of what was the salon prior. The deck will be continuing from the existing concrete deck, which already exists in front of the inn. If you look at plan A1, can we put up plan A1? That's a rendering of the front.
Sorry, it's taking a little while to upload.
Okay. Well, I'll start talking. So this new proposed concrete deck is not attached in any way to the building. It can be removed at any point in time in the future. No damage will be done to the structure of the building. And again, it's just in front of what was the salon. Before we get the video up or the picture up, if you know this section of the building, which is referred to the Thoreau House, the middle section. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So the Thoreau House, which is what has the black shutters on it, and you see the very prominent white pilaster on the corner there. That's currently where the deck ends. The concrete deck exists up to that white pilaster where she's got the mouse there. So that's where it ends today. We're proposing that we would continue the same exact concrete look that exists today from the point where it ends at that pilaster in front of what was formerly the salon. Again, not attached to the building. It will run all the way to the end where those bank of windows are located. There'll be nothing, there's no lighting being added there. Again, nothing is being attached to the building, and this could be removed if need be in the future without any damage to that salon area, and specifically the main inn, because we're not doing it in front of the main inn. On top of the concrete deck, we're proposing to match the existing planters which border the current patio or deck, just along the front of them and the east side end. That's both for aesthetic features for flowers and also as a barrier to keep guests on that deck. We want to direct guests of how to get on the deck in the one open area, by the door. The rest of it will be closed in with the exact matching planters. Currently, in that same picture, you kind of by the red door there, you see a table sitting in that location there. There's some existing infrastructure that's there today, some vent lines for an air conditioner, some utility fills. Those are not being taken out. Those all stay where there are. Will be like a window well put in the concrete deck to leave those in place, and they'll be properly screened from guest view in that location. In front of the salon, just to the right of that door, there's an existing electrical outlet that will need to be raised to meet code for electrical, because it would be actually below where the concrete grade would sit. If we could switch to plan APS2, or I'm sorry, AES2, is that possible? AES2. This installation would require us to remove an existing brick walkway. It currently leads across the lawn to our driveway. It's not a handicap accessible ramp, and when you get to the end of the ramp, it drops off a concrete curb. This will kind of this plan shows it where it's not. This is APS2. Kind of in that triangular shaped grass area. That's where it exists today. If we were to look at the AES2, this plan shows it where it's already been removed. So we're seeking to remove, there it is on that plan there, that horizontal brick walkway that's in the grass, that would come out because it would essentially be impeding with where the concrete deck would be at. So we're looking to remove that brick structure, again, which is not handicap accessible currently. And this plan would also require us to remove some of our existing plantings. There's 2 azalea trees, or shrubs, I'm sorry, that are currently planted. They're going to be picked up and relocated on the east side of the building there. And then we'll plant our planters seasonally like we do now with different flowers of the season. So that's what we're looking to do as far as the patio, I'm sorry, the deck extension, the concrete deck. It's just a simple flat structure. From the street, it shouldn't be viewed very much with the planters in front. The planters will be actually placed in front of the concrete. I guess I'd call it slab or deck. They'll be in front of that, just like it is on an existing patio. They'll be lagged in for for safety, so they wouldn't fall over. So that would hide any visual look, and that'll be in a planting bed like the existing. That'll all be planted with mulch and other flowers that are low off the ground. Any questions regarding that concrete deck extension?
Any questions from anybody? I guess not. Let's keep moving.
Okay. Secondarily, the plan that's showing now, that does show the brickwork, which again, I apologize that we did do that during that time frame. I would take blame myself. I was relocated to here during COVID and did that as a seating area. So I apologize that I did not seek permission to do that. I was unaware of that. I certainly know better now. But this plan, where those 2 black circles are, those are tree plantings, in that area she's circling, where the finger of the walkway comes out further to the street, you know, that was the existing walkway. We bricked in on the left-hand side around that planter bed. And then on the right-hand side, you know, we installed some granite to keep to make the elevation flat. So we expect that's a granite piece that's been installed there, and we bricked in that area. All those walkways you see, those were all existing. We didn't add those walkways. Those were, and that's on AES2. There you go. Yeah, that shows it. So those walkways, this shows it minus where we added. You know, that's prior to adding the brick. So those walkways were there. It's just the seating area that we put to both the left and right of that existing walkway. And we're hoping to keep that as is with no alterations, and then enhance the front of the facade with an extended deck.
So summing this up, you want to get approval for the slab or deck in front of the modern section, and then you want permission for us to approve the brick patios as they stand today.
Correct.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
I'll start. You know, I've walked by this. I happen to have a soft spot for eating there, so I'm biased. I think it's a lovely place to be. But starting with the original, the last two drawings, I think you were correct me if I'm wrong. You were showing where it was several years ago. Don't know when. This one.
That's how it would have looked in 2020 up until May of 21 is when we.
And if you could scroll to the next drawing, you know, you're adding outdoor seating, you're adding sitting space. It's highly used. I think that's great. I've always viewed it as a bit of a visual jumble, but when I go inside the Colonial Inn, parts of the Colonial Inn are a bit of a jumble in plan, and there's a sort of quirky jumbleness to it. So I think we could, personally, you could debate on the merits or demerits of how this brick is laid out. But it was a little bit quirky beforehand, and now it's quirky after. So I don't, and then so that's my comments on what's changed. And then the new concrete deck, I actually think the rendering you showed right at the beginning just seems to extend the quality of, you know, that the planters. I think it's a very quiet addition, that new deck, and I find the whole thing quite appealing. I'm not a total fan of how the brick got laid out. Without our approval, it's a little busy, but again, I think that's sort of splitting hairs in terms of how that's laid out. I know you're dealing with ADA and tripping hazards and all that business, so it's not easy. So I actually think these renderings, as much as I can remember what's there, seem to be quite real. Some of these renderings are not always realistic. I think these are very effective, and I also appreciate the fact that the left hand, where the Colonial Inn sign is, it's really quite quiet. There's just a brick entry, planters, and on the right hand end, you're putting another sort of quiet planters slab, and the quirkiness is sort of in the middle at the inn entrance. I'm not sure which one the inn entrance, but the portico entrance. I will stop there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other thoughts?
If I may ask a question, you know, somewhere through the presentation, I lost track of everything that was being said, because although I had this, expressed beforehand that we're looking at a brand new design, everything that I tried to focus on something, it was because the structure was being explained in relation to what it's there, and that and the change that it's going to be made and so forth. So what I would like the applicant is to present to us a complete design of how it's going to look after we approve whatever we approve tonight. not in the sense of what changed from what we did not approve before, but we probably will approve now, etc. I would like to, I may have missed it, but I wasn't able to track it. So if you could just give us one drawing that says, this is the way it's going to look,
Okay.
without any reference to what was going on before, or what happened today, or what happened in 2021. Thank you.
Proposed plan, site plan APS2. That is not a rendering, that's an architectural drawing.
Can we put it on the screen, Anne?
Yep. So APS2, that is comprehensive of what it looks like today. That is what exists today.
Yeah,
is-
but we, I misspoke. We have no interest at all in what is happening today. What our interest is how it's going to look if we approve your application. Where we want to hear your proposal. We don't want to see how it looks today, or we want to see how it's going to look after we approve your proposal, and then you make an intervention. You see, that's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Isn't that this plan?
I mean, plan A1, the rendering, that rendering is how it will look when the project's done. There'll be a concrete deck in front of the old salon area. And, A1 shows the unapproved seating area, that was added in front there where the mouse is. It's missing a tree where that couple is standing. There's actually a tree there, and they're kind of standing where the other sitting area is. There's no tables there currently. So that doesn't actually show tables there, but there's a tree that's not in the rendering. But that rendering more or less looks like what it should look as the rendering. The drawing, that APS2 drawing, that is how it will look when the project's complete. That shows the extended concrete deck in front of the east side, and it shows the existing walkways, and it shows the added sitting areas.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Makes it. Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Are there any public comments? Don't see any hands up. Yes, Priscilla.
Yes, thank you. I think the proposed addition is in keeping with the existing appearance, and I would be in full favor of the proposal. I think the Colonial Inn has done a great job in serving our community and those who come to visit, and I think the brickway walkways are just in keeping. I come from Alexandria, Virginia, so I know a lot about brick work, and I'm in complete agreement with what the proposal is being presented. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further comments or questions, do I have a motion?
I did just have one last question, or one question.
Okay, sure.
So I've seen two different things vis-a-vis the rendering versus another plan. Just in terms of the new concrete platform that will be the extension of the decking in front of the salon. Is the intention just to have the window boxes around the perimeter or at the edge of the perimeter, or is more permanent planting planned for around the edge there?
Around the edge, we're going to relocate the two azaleas that are in way of the deck. And is it a dogwood we're moving? Yeah, and there's a dogwood that we're going to move to the side as well. So along the far side, along the driveway, there'll be permanent plantings. Then the boxes themselves will have seasonal plantings put in there. And then in front of the concrete deck, we'll also have a mulch area and some flower scapes that are similar to the other side there. You kind of hides you don't really see the deck, you'll just see the flowers in front there.
So sorry, but what will that edge detail, if you will, of the concrete pad look like then? What is the detail there?
If you can go to A6, the plan shows it doesn't show a rendering with flowers or anything, but it shows the detail of the concrete edge. Let you in.
Can we see that? Can that particular drawing be brought up, Anne?
A6. You can explain that.
Sorry, they aren't labeled that specifically, and there are just so many drawings, but I'll try to bring it up.
I'm sorry.
It's the, if I can speak out, it's the last drawing.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see and understand like how that edge detail will appear if, for example, plants die or it's not truly covered. I just want to understand what the application of materials will be along that edge.
Will this show that? Or?
Yeah, A6 shows it, and it's very similar to the existing inn. The planters are attached to the edge of the concrete, and they sit on the ground, and they act as they're 2 foot 6 inch high, so they meet code as a barrier, and
Okay.
they're exactly the same. They're
So the planters are going from the ground to
yes,
correct.
up along the edge of the
yes, it's like
concrete
they
pad.
sit on the ground because it's a change in grade.
Okay.
And they're physically attached to the edge of the concrete deck.
Okay.
And then there's planters there, and then there's other planting that we're putting in front of that.
Okay.
Seasonal planting,
Mhm.
and then the
And the choice of the concrete was to remain consistent with existing?
Exactly. Yes.
It's exactly the same. It'll be stained the same color.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay, now do we have a motion? Anybody want to move this application?
I move that we approve 48 Monument Square as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Catherine, thank you. Okay, Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Catherine? Excuse me, Kate?
Aye.
Walter?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, now, the next application is Robbins House, 320 Monument Street, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District, to install a temporary bottle tree art installation, which I gather is already there.
Well, it's in the process of being removed, right?
Being removed?
I think that was our determination, the last.
That,
Is someone here for
that
the applicant?
is formally.
Who's here representing the applicant? You're muted.
Are muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, it's been a long evening. So my name is Jen Turner. I'm the executive director of the Robbins House, and I have resubmitted the application for the bottle tree installation. And I don't know if Anne has any images, or I could pull up some images. Thanks, Anne. So the bottle tree, as we might remember from a couple of meetings ago, is an art installation from the Black Coral Project out of Cambridge. And it's a art installation that's meant to be evocative of enslavement using the blue bottles, which there's a tradition that it comes from West Africa and then was brought by enslaved people to the Americas, particularly Georgia and South Carolina. And the idea was that enslaved people would put bottles in the trees, and they would it would be a space for the ancestors to live and sort of their spirits to commune. So we have put we would like to put this art installation at the Robbins House on the front lawn from May to October, which is the museum season. So I've resubmitted the application materials based on our conversation last time.
Okay, so you want, how long will this be there?
I believe the application said May to October, which was the advice given by the HDC last time I appeared.
Okay,
So 6 months.
6 months.
Which is basically the museum season. We're a seasonal museum.
Great. Do I have any comments or questions on this bottle tree? I have none. I think it's a nice installation. Pardon?
Just wonder how far
Walter?
back, refresh me, from the street is this located?
I
just don't remember.
Well, now that you mention it, it's located near the first major tree on the property on the front lawn. So I would probably say 6 feet maybe from the parking area.
It's off the parking area,
I
parking
mean, it
lot.
is off, yeah, I mean, it is very concretely on the front lawn.
Yeah, just the only minor comment I have about any of this is, should it or could it be farther back, closer to the house?
I mean, that's a good question. As I mentioned last time, I mean, I don't like moving it because it's not our art piece, and that was where the artists put it when they when they brought it to.
I just remember it being a little bit random in its placement from before.
I've seen it though, and I've noticed no issue with its placement.
Okay, very good.
If I may, I think that we're all familiar with this application. And I believe that we should just grant a temporary permit and the sculpture should be there to be removed no later than October 31st. And I think that it makes perfect sense, the context of the house and the meaning of this sculpture. It's entirely consistent with the mission of the Historic Districts Commission. So I would vote for providing a temporary permit for the
Great.
sculpture.
Any other questions? So Luis, you just framed a motion. Do you want to continue that? Or restate that?
I cannot.
Yeah, he's not a voting member.
I'm not a voting
Oh,
member.
excuse me. See, I forgot you're not a voting member. Sorry. Can a voting member then?
May I move?
Sure, Walter.
Yes,
Move along.
I move that we approve the application for the Robbins House and 320 Monument Street to install a temporary bottle tree art installation to be removed by or after October 31st.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tim. Okay, Kate.
Aye.
Catherine.
Aye.
Tim.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
But
Take-
don't go away.
Okay, sorry.
The next application is the Robbins House at 320 Monument Street, Northbridge Monument Square Historic District to install a temporary bottle. Wait, why do we have two of those? Oh, sorry. I forgot to check it off on my list. I'm very literal here. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay, take care.
I thought we were going to deal with the bench and other things tonight, but we'll get back to that. The next hearing is the Wright Tavern at 2 Lexington Road, American Mile Historic District, to relocate a sign to the exterior of the building. And Tom, you're here from the Wright Tavern?
I am. Hello, everybody. Good to meet with you all and see you all again. I thought what I might do is put together just a few slides to kind of walk you through the pictures of what we're looking at. And I have a couple of new pictures that we're not including the material, but I think are sort of apropos of what we're talking about here. Let's see, actually, let me do this here because I think I don't have it up yet. I have to do there we go. Let me find the, here we go. And, okay, you all see that? This is one of the, this is a photograph of the Wright Tavern. Our sense is probably in the late 1920s, because the on the left-hand side is the what we call the tea room that was built in 1925, and you'll see over the door the Wright Tavern sign, and this is the door that faces First Parish, and on the right-hand side, the other door is Lexington Road, which is on the right. When I was working in terms of exploring the building, this is quite a number, probably a couple of years ago, I found in one of the attics this sign on its face, sort of stuck up like as if it was in the attic, put away. And I thought, what a wonderful sign. And I researched it and found some photographs where I actually showed the sign, and he kept it inside the building up until recently, when we are, as many of you know, we're in the process of opening the Wright Tavern to the public. We had a bit of an opening on Patriots Day, had a big festival outside, and we wanted to put some signs up, put a sign up around the Wright Tavern to start to now establish its place in town. So this would be a sign that we would like to get up, not just on a temporary basis, but really on a permanent basis. And it's not unusual to have a sign. Here's another picture of the Wright Tavern, sort of before there were cars. And you'll see sign. I've got a bunch of other signs that I could show you if you're interested, that has signs all across the front. This is now looking at the Wright Tavern from Lexington Road. This is not the exact sign because it just says Wright Tavern, not the Wright Tavern. So our sense is that the one we have or we're looking at is a little bit newer than the one that you see in that particular sign. This is a photograph of when we in the National Registry of Historic Places. This is a photograph that's in that documentation. And so I just kind of circled, because this shows where the Wright Tavern sign was, and then where we're suggesting it be located in terms of now that the focus would be away from First Parish, but really make it more part of Concord, make it part of Lexington Road, which is why we wanted to have a sign in that particular location. So here's a picture of the sign as it is now, hanging up. And you'll see this is the front door. It's to the right of the front door, and it's about 6 feet long, maybe 8 to 10 inches wide. And you all have seen it. And the one picture that is not included, because we did this on Patriots Day, is a picture of the sign in front of the Wright Tavern with the Minutemen. So I thought that was kind of a clever way of looking at the sign's positioning, as well as what we intended for it to look like in the future. So our request is to allow us to leave the sign up as it's shown there, and to start to once again get people to become aware that this building is called the Wright Tavern. Very simple, very sweet.
Thank you. Thank you. Comments? Questions? So this sign, Tom, is actually replacing a sign that was there. That
Right.
sign wasn't in that place, but there was a sign there in the early 20th century, maybe the 20s, someplace in there.
Close to there, it was down more on the L, and this is more around the front door. But there were signs on the front of the building. So yes,
Okay.
it's in the location.
How are you going to preserve this sign? I mean, this looks in great condition.
It
So
is.
It couldn't have been out too long, but
Right.
but it's going to deteriorate once you put it back outside like that.
It might. It's a really good suggestion. I mean, we would be willing to. Our tourist trade, if you will probably end in October. But our hope is that we'll have the tavern open year round once we kind of get our business up and going. And so it'd be an interesting point. It's a pretty solid piece of wood, and it looks like it's in really good shape. I'm not sure how long that would last. That's outside of my it's above my pay grade, as they say.
Questions from anybody? Thoughts?
So the sign is currently in the position you're showing it in the picture there?
Yes.
Behind the Minutemen?
Yep.
Okay, and it's been in that position, or you put it up there for the?
We put it up there in probably early April.
Did you have approval from the HTC to do that?
No, we did not, because
that's my, with a smile, that's my concern here, is that we just got through an application where somebody did this without permission.
Right.
For permission, and now you're coming to us with something that you put up without permission.
And I do apologize for that. I was under the impression, since there had been signs before, that we could do that, but Anne was really kind in informing me that no, we really need your permission. So I come with hat in hand, as they may say.
Okay, so the application, you're not asking, it's not an application where you want to put the sign up. You're asking us for retroactive approval of having put it up without permission.
Exactly.
That's something we should be clear about.
But thank you. Yeah.
I'm just very happy you found that up in the attic.
Yeah, it really it was quite a surprise. And we had it hanging inside the building until we realized that we really wanted to start to promote the building externally, and so that was a good way to do that.
Do I hear any other questions or comments?
I just was going to add that I love the history, and I think it looks great. No problem with it.
Great.
Thank you.
Anybody from the public? I keep forgetting to involve the public in these decisions. Anybody have anything to add? You know, I think it adds that colonial revival charm to a building that's evolved over time. I think it's quite lovely. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we approve the application of 2 Lexington Road for Wright Tavern to hang its sign on the exterior of the building.
Great. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
Great. Thank Catherine. Okay, let me see. Catherine?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Walter?
The smile, aye.
And I am an aye. So you have your sign to remain hanging.
I appreciate it very much. Once again, I apologize for having just it's all a learning process. I'm still newbie at this process, and so I appreciate it. Anne was wonderful in terms of helping us put together the right package for you, and thank you again. Hope you all have a good evening.
Great. Good luck with all you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're into continued public hearings, and we have one. And this is Chris and Kara Davis from 525 Lexington Road in the American Mile Historic District to temporarily widen the drive and add a temporary parking area.
Excuse me, Dennis.
Yes, what?
Can we take like
I
a
missed something?
2-minute
Pardon?
comfort break? Can I take like a 2-minute comfort break?
Sure, go ahead.
Right back.
And is it possible to discuss anything else right now while she's gone? Oops.
Yeah, I guess I don't see why not.
I was just going to comment that I think so far this new process has worked well. It's much more streamlined, and we get to the meat of the question we're dealing with in the applicant, and things seem to be moving along very quickly. So I'm very pleased. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that while we're waiting for Kate.
Who are you addressing that question to? To everyone?
Yeah,
It's-
to everyone. Yes, yeah. Anybody has thoughts on that?
Yeah, it seems to be just a little bit more free flowing, which I think is good.
Good.
Great.
Back in the saddle again.
That's right.
Okay, thanks, good. So, I think someone here is representing the Davises.
Yes, I am. Charlie Gadbois, Welland Construction Contractor. We met there this morning.
Right.
Good evening.
So, do you want to just, do we need to have him quickly present, or can we move ahead? We were all there. I think almost all of us were there this morning. Were there any more questions or anything anybody had to comment on?
Yes, I have a quick comment.
Great.
I
Please go
want
ahead.
to suggest that if this commission approves the application, that it have a time limit of 3 years from the date of approval, after which the driveway has to be put back in the status that it is today.
So you want to do, you were saying that it should be back in the status it's today in 15 months, correct?
Correct.
Well, they say 15 months, but we're giving them 36.
So you want to give them 36, not 15?
How about 24?
Do I have any other bids?
I didn't want to open a can of worms.
So
No?
24 is, as we discussed today, 24 is way more than we would need. I mean, it's fine.
I'll go with 24.
I wasn't there this morning, but in terms of wording, I would suggest that it be prioritized to return the driveway to its current or prior state as quickly as possible, and that just be the understanding.
But I think that a maximum is appropriate.
Sure.
So why don't we agree, can we agree on the 24 as a mid-range between the two? I'm not making a
It's
motion. Someone's gonna have to make
It's
it.
completely acceptable to the applicant. 24 is more than enough.
Okay. So are there any public comments on this? Does someone want to make a motion?
Well, I have one other comment too, which is I believe I had mentioned the last time we were looking at this, that since we have a celebration coming up in a year's time, that anything that could be done to lessen the visual impact for that week would be beneficial. I understand construction goes sometimes on a schedule that it develops itself. But that I would suggest that we do that, have a 1 week exclusion time if it affects things visually.
I think after the site visit today, it's
Not necessary.
I guess I guess it's sort of, it is what it is. and I don't know if there's any way to make it better during that time period. I think most of us found it minimally objectionable, but then I may not be speaking for everybody.
Yeah, as I say, I wasn't there, so I defer certainly to the collective wisdom.
Walter, thank you. So do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the temporary widening of drive and parking area, and if I could just add, including the metal fence with green screening, correct? Charlie?
Yes, correct. That is
That's it.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Catherine, thank you for seconding that. Okay, so let me see. Tim,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Great. You have your fence and widened driveway. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Appreciate it.
Great.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, Margaret Burling, other business?
And I just had one quick question. You didn't vote on the 24 months. Is that something you wanted to include in that motion?
Yes, I think we want to include the
Yeah.
24.
Okay.
Sorry. That didn't get included in the motion. Okay, Margaret Burling, this is you. And you're representing her in this?
Yes, so this is just a change in paint color, which, the HDC can do without an application through, administrative approval under other business. So they just plan to leave the trim white and then to change the body color to a lazy gray and the shutters and doors to this inky blue. So pretty straightforward, not much of a change.
So you're just letting us know about this and it's being done as administrative change at this time, or do you need us to vote on this?
I think you need to vote on it. Right, I think I've never been entirely clear on this administrative approval. Sometimes you call it administrative, but it's really the HDC deciding under other business versus a different sort of administrative approval where staff makes the decision. But
I see what you're saying. So we don't need a full application, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, fine. Thoughts on this this paint change?
I think it's a subtle change and I think it's fine.
We always like gray here, so gray always wins. Do we have any other comments? Okay, is there anybody from the public who wants to comment on this? I guess we can ask for the comments from the public. Anybody want to make a motion? No one?
How about this? I move we approve the application for 570 Lexington Road.
The non-application.
The non-application in an administrative way to do what it is they're asking to do.
Sounds good. Paint color. Do I have a second?
I administratively second it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let me go around. Walter,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Kate,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
Dennis is an aye. Great, wonderful. We made good time. This is terrific. I have a few other things that I'm going to go over at some point. But I'm not going to take much time to do that tonight, but I think that we want to continue to work in a number of areas. One is that a number of comments have come up about our guidelines, and we're continually finding areas that aren't covered. I think Walter mentioned that the stone walls are not covered sufficiently in there. Bill, you had mentioned the signs have a problem. I was involved in on the commission the last time we did a rewrite of the bylaws. It took us 2 to 2.5 years and it was endless. And by the time we got to the end, we had to do them again. So I'm looking for ways to streamline this. And I think one of the ways is to take areas and work on them very quickly to make revisions and make those available. And I've got to talk with Ann more about how to structure that and make it happen. But I think we want to get things into the bylaw, into our bylaws, into our guiding memoranda as soon as we possibly can. So that's one thing we're going to work on. And the other one I think I mentioned is this administrative change thing. Realizing that it's something we have to keep an eye on, that to see if we can the staff can move on more of these small things. The great complaint from the public I've gotten is that you have to fill out a whole application. You have to pay a fee. You then have to wait through hours of meetings in order to get your mailbox to go from black to dark blue. And that just seems to be unfair all around, and we had to find a way to streamline that. So that's something we'll work on. I'll open up to anybody else's comments, but I first want to mention one thing that's brought up to me, and that is several people, not that we want to get into this whole situation, but several people have thought that the Israeli flag installation in the downtown area across from the library has been there longer than they thought it should be. What do we know about that? Anything at all?
I don't know anything, but I've heard the same remarks. People have asked me about that.
So we ought to look into that. I gather they could have it there for 6 months without having to come for permission, or do they have to, or should they have come for permission before they installed it?
They probably should have come for permission.
That's my thinking, but they did not.
I mean, it's a large installation. You know, so if you thought of something of comparable size or visibility, that would have fallen under the rubric of,
Like the arch at the library?
yeah.
Yeah,
know,
like yeah.
you know, or the Lyceum by the artist at the Manse, whenever that was, 7 years ago, 8 years ago. It's sort of that size.
Right. Ann, do you have any thoughts on that?
Sorry. Right, so since I've been here, I did hear you say a few times that any sort of temporary art installation would need to be reviewed by the HTC. And so I would think that this does fall into that category. I know that there are some exemptions for, you know, very temporary things regarding celebrations, you know, for a parade that's coming up. But if this has been up for 6 months, then yeah, it seems as if it should be HTC review.
On the other hand, on the flip side, you know, I just mentioned the Lyceum example, but there's also the, I think Dennis and Luis, you were both on HTC when the Black Lives Matter banner was up at First Parish. Tim, is it still up? It was up for a really long time. And we got a couple of questions about that. And Justin King wanted to, you know, kind of alert them that they needed to apply or that their 6 months had run up. But Peter Nobley was on the First Parish vestry or whatever they call it and said, you know, not from his point of view, but don't go after this one because the ACL is sort of looking at this as an expression of faith, and that's just going to be a sticky wicket. And I don't know if the same could apply to the Israeli flag setup. Just food for thought.
Good thoughts. Yeah, and there's this whole separation of church and state issue over the whole Black Lives Matter too. I don't even know who put those up. Does anybody know where they came from? I have no idea.
Whose property is that? I mean, both are in the district, so.
They have been before us in the last year and a half or so for gutters, if nothing else, haven't they?
Which, does it belong to the Blue House?
No, it doesn't. When Ann Lang's house was sold, the couple got the house. A real estate developer bought the whole thing, sold the uncoupled the plot with the house, and then he kept that strip. And I've heard the name of the person that I know who owns that. It's owned by, you remember on Lang Street, there was an individual who used to be a town planner in Concord, and he developed that church. We spent quite a bit of time with him developing that church into a house. I believe he owns that piece of property and is planning to build a house there.
Really? Huh.
No. At the back of that property. And I forget his name. Ann, do you remember his name?
I think it's Kevin Murphy. Or
No,
no, Kevin
Hurley.
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 Yeah,
It's
Hurley.
Kevin Hurley. He used to be town planner. I believe he owns that property.
Oh.
And I don't know if he's done this or given permission for it. I don't know what the story is.
Oh, well, I wonder if that colors things a bit because it's not his home. I just was assuming it was attached to one of the two houses, thinking like this is an expression of
No, but it's
Yeah.
on his property, so.
his property, but
Had there been a proper application, we would have this information.
No. Now that we determined there should be one, there is not one.
No, I say, if there had been a proper application, we wouldn't have to be asking ourselves who owns the property. We would have all that information, right?
Good point.
Yeah, I think the bigger question here is that this evening, well, right now we're talking about this as an installation that had not been approved, but we had 3 in a row. Actually, no, yes, we had 3 in a row questions on the agenda tonight that were all involving things that had been done without asking for permission. That's
yeah, I feel like we're getting
3
a
in a
lot.
row, and then this is 4 that we're talking about here.
I think we're
That's
getting
the
a lot
bigger
more
concern.
asking for forgiveness instead of permission,
Yeah.
seems to me.
So
One of the things that brings to mind, one of the things we've been talking about in preservation planning at our last meeting, and that was what are the penalties? And how do we deal with those? And that's going to be something we're going to take up. Someone suggested that right now in Concord, it's a misdemeanor.
Well,
Now,
it's
not
in
for
our-
not for
it's
putting
in
in an
our liquor-
application, but for disobeying or doing things that are out of line with the historic districts. We've got to look more into that. I know it's true in some communities. I'm not sure it's true here.
It's in our documentation.
Yeah, no one's ever pushed that button, Walter.
No, I
So-
understand that, but that's the answer to your question, is it is technically a misdemeanor. It can be judged to be a misdemeanor. And that's specifically, for Concord. That's there.
Anyway, we'll get more information. Priscilla, do you have your hand up?
I do. I just wanted to respond to the flags that we were discussing a bit earlier. And my understanding, it was a family on Sudbury Road, maybe 2 or 3, 4 houses up from the library going towards a stoplight, that had put those up. And I read that in the newspaper. So if that's helpful, I offer it.
Great, thank you,
Oh.
Priscilla.
Mhm.
We'll track it down. So that's all I have to say. Anything else from anybody else who wants to bring up anything at the end of the meeting? Tim?
Just want to note, as one of those things we talked about was reviewing the uplighting of prominent buildings. We got all that discussion on the churches, so, or Tricon anyway, and it's very vague. It says prominent buildings, some prominent buildings may be uplit, or I can't remember the exact words, but it's very vague. It doesn't say which buildings. And I think we want to get away from uplit facades of buildings anyway. So that was one piece we were talking about working on.
Great. We'll add that to the list. We're building a list, and we have to find a way to streamline these. I don't want to wait 2.5 years before we put them in our guidelines. Well, great. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Great.
I'll
Thanks,
second.
Tim. We have a second on that. All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you very much. Been a great meeting.